Good morning, beautiful people, and welcome to another edition of Woke Wednesday, hosted from my very own apartment because I'm homesick. Allergic reactions are no fun. So the same disclaimers as before still apply. These views don't represent all views. If I get things wrong, please let me know, and it's supposed to be an active discussion, so let me hear you. So right away we go into the hard-hitting topics. Well, first and foremost, to address this, I think it's important to talk about the meaning of the word racist. So the dictionary has a very specific definition of racism, which, if you read the bottom, has to do with the superiority complex that exists between the relationship of one race and another. The reason that is so important is because understanding the difference between a group being racist and a group being prejudiced has to do with the long-standing history of power dynamics between those groups. So by technical definition, minorities can't be racist, but can minorities be prejudiced? Heck yes, and that's what we need to address. Just because someone belongs to a minority doesn't mean that that particular community doesn't still uphold and stand for a lot of stereotypical and prejudiced ideas towards people in that community and out. There's no way that this 10-second clip of time I can possibly explain all the history, but just thinking of how deeply ingrained some of these stereotypes and prejudices have been over time, it's there. Whether it's Black communities perpetuating stereotypical thoughts about Asians, Muslim communities supporting anti-Blackness, and all sorts of communities supporting anything having to do with anti-Africanness. This could be anything from minorities using their minorityism to use the N-word and other derogatory terms, or saying, your history is my history, so you can't complain about the oppression of your people. This has already been a long explanation, but another idea is that the closer you are to matching the standard of whiteness, the closer you are to being a superior minority, or race in general. Ah, yes, racism in the church. What an interesting, non-talked about nearly enough, but important topic of conversation. So, although this question was asked to me by a friend of mine who's part of the same non-denominational family of churches that I am, in truth, it could definitely be said to be true about any religious body or affiliation. Even more dangerous and harmful than the racist and prejudiced thoughts themselves is the ignorance behind the idea that within religious bodies and organizations, it's not possible for them to exist. The reality is that the church, just like any other organization, is a gathering of people who have come in with diverse experiences and perceptions of the world around them. Therefore, while a lot of those people's opinions and experiences can be based off very informative things, a lot of people also come in with very skewed and sometimes misinformed perceptions of other groups. And while on the surface this is fine, I mean, the church is supposed to be a place of learning and growing, it can't be used as an excuse and a blanket for those ignorant thoughts being perpetuated. I've literally lost count of the amount of times that myself or my other Black friends have had things said and done to us that are blatantly ignorant and prejudiced, but it's always been passed off under the guise of just joking around. Even if it's not said blatantly within a group, it's oftentimes perpetuated in the attitudes and actions, such as the dating culture within a ministry, or the way that mission work to third world countries is approached. And again, I completely and totally want to acknowledge the importance of the church being a safe place to learn and grow out of one's ignorance, but it can't be used as an excuse for ignorance. That's why the sentiment of race doesn't matter and we don't need to talk about this here, we're all the same, that's adopted by church bodies is so dangerous because you're hindering the healthy conversation from actually taking place. Last thing I'm going to say on the topic is that it's funny how the idea of I have a Black friend so I can't be racist is perpetuated even more in the church than it is in the world, but in truth it should mean that you care even more. Unfortunately, I have to leave for a little bit to get some actual work done and such, but any more comments and questions, please let me know, and don't forget... I must say that while I'm really glad this question was brought up, it's a very difficult one to talk about because you continue to ask why does it even exist. But I say it's difficult because it affects me, the people I'm close to in church, at school, and just in the world in general, and how we're portrayed in media. And finding the right words to actually talk about this is personally painful, because even more than it being a dating material or marriage material thing, it comes down to Black women being seen as attractive or not. Because honestly, all the evidence that we see in media, in the world around us, in the church like we just talked about, really points towards just Black women not being seen as desirable. You'll see the Black woman portrayed as the sidekick, the best friend, the life of the party, the confidant, but never the main character in the love story, in real life and otherwise. On the entire other side of the spectrum, it's not rare at all to also see Black women just blatantly being slandered, called too sassy, loud, animalistic, manly, so on and so forth. The saddest thing of all is this isn't only an attitude that comes from outside, but also inside the Black community, where only light skins and mixed girls are seen as the desirable ones. Even more than it just being a silent sentiment that is thought but not necessarily talked about, people will actually proudly state how they're upgrading from dating Black women because we're too much for them. Don't even get me started on going to the topic of the fetishization of Black women and Black features being desirable on non-Black bodies and just all sorts of things. Although this topic might seem like it's just a gross exaggeration, I literally have friends who have been told to their face that they have all the desirable qualities of a dateable person except that they were Black. So yeah, it's sad, because for a lot of Black women, the first question they ask when they do think a guy is cute isn't, I wonder if he likes me, but rather, I wonder if he would even ever find me attractive.